I used to believe that after 25 years of marriage, sex just stops being something you think about. Or if it comes to mind at all, it's like a distant memory, like recalling the smell of your mom's Sunday morning French toast. Sweet, nostalgic, but long gone. I'm a 50-year-old woman, with 2 grown children, a cozy home in the suburbs, and a life most would call stable. But you know what? Stability can sometimes be just another word for silence that stretches so long. It wears your soul thin. My name is Linda. Around the neighborhood, people call me Sweet Linda down the block. The one who always bakes for the HOA meetings, who walks her golden retriever at 5 p.m. sharp every day. But what they don't know is that some nights, I lie next to the man I once loved deeply, staring at the ceiling, feeling a hollow space growing wider in my chest. My husband, Richard, isn't a bad man. He's kind, hardworking, responsible, pays bills on time, mows the lawn every Saturday. But he stopped looking at me like a woman a long time ago. I remember the last time he touched me out of desire, not obligation. It was 7 years ago, on a humid summer night. We had shared a bottle of wine after dinner. He smiled at me the way he used to in our younger days, pulled me into the bedroom, gentle, a little clumsy, but there was still some spark. After that night it all faded. No more morning kisses. No more little squeezes on the arm as we passed each other in the kitchen. We talked like roommates, coexisting, but no longer reaching for one another. I accepted it. Told myself I had everything. A complete family, good kids, a decent life. The yearning, the little sparks, the wild heartbeat moments. I buried those in the back of my memory, under grocery lists and laundry loads. Then on a brisk March morning, Jake moved in across the street. I saw him first while watering my roses. He pulled up in a dusty pickup, jumped out, and started unloading boxes. Jake was younger, early 30s I'd guess. Tall, broad shoulders, tan skin, messy hair. He wore a snug white t-shirt, and carried a kind of energy you could feel from across the lawn. Our eyes met. He smiled. I flushed. He raised a hand and said, "Hey neighbor. I'm Jake. Just moved in." I smiled back and said, "Linda, welcome to the neighborhood." My voice cracked a little. My heart skipped like a teenager's. I felt ridiculous. What was I doing noticing a man nearly 2 decades younger than me? Probably younger than my son, for God's sake. But even as I lectured myself, I couldn't help but notice how attractive he was. In the days that followed, I found myself looking out the window more. Watching him mow the lawn shirtless. Watching him fix the gutter with strong, steady hands. Watching the sunlight catch on his arms, golden and warm. Sometimes I caught him looking back. His gaze didn't dart away. It lingered, as if he knew exactly what he was doing. One Friday, I was baking an apple pie when Jake knocked on my door. "Sorry to bug you," he said, "but I lost my toolbox somewhere in the move. Any chance you have a screwdriver I can borrow?" I brought him to the garage, found the tool, and as he leaned in beside me, I could smell his skin, clean sweat and detergent. It made me shiver. "You bake?" he asked, glancing toward the kitchen. "Apple pie," I said. And then, before I could stop myself, "Would you like a slice?" He came in, sat at my kitchen table, and we talked over pie. He told me about his business, freelance, mostly from home. Said he liked running, had a dog named Milo. I listened. I laughed. And I realized I hadn't felt this seen, this interesting in years. Not as a wife. Not as a mother. But as a woman. My husband was away on a 2-week business trip. I was alone. That night, I sat in front of the mirror, stared at the woman looking back. The lines around my eyes, the dyed hair covering the grays, the soft skin that wasn't as tight as it once was. But something in my eyes had changed. They sparkled. I started wearing dresses again, putting on lipstick, letting my hair down when I stepped out to the mailbox. Jake noticed. He started waving more, talking longer. His glances lingered. I knew I was walking towards something dangerous. But I couldn't stop. The feeling of being wanted, of being looked at like a woman. After all these years of blending into the background, that feeling was louder than my guilt. Louder than reason. Then came the rainy evening. Jake showed up on my porch, soaked to the bone. "Power's out at my place," he said. "Mind if I wait here for a bit?" I let him in. He stood dripping in the foyer, his white t-shirt clinging to his chest. I handed him a towel. "Take off your shirt," I said, trying to sound casual. "I'll dry it." He hesitated, then peeled it off. I turned away. But through the mirror on the hall wall, I saw everything. My cheeks burned. I didn't know then that just a few days later, I'd cross a line I once thought unthinkable. I can't say exactly when I lost control. Maybe it was the moment Jake stepped into my house, his shirt soaked and clinging to his chest. Or maybe it was when I handed him the towel, and my fingers brushed against his warm, firm skin. But what I know for sure is this. When that door closed behind him, the rest of the world faded away. It was just me, him, and the heat between us. Jake stood there, holding his wet t-shirt in his hand. All he had on now were those low-slung jeans that hugged his hips. He didn't speak. Neither did I. Some things don't need words. "I'll dry your shirt," I said, my voice husky and unfamiliar. "No need," he replied, eyes locked on mine. "I'm not cold anymore." The air between us thickened. I could hear my own heartbeat. I could feel the weight of his gaze, not shy, not awkward, but direct, hot, and deliberate, like he already knew every thought racing through my head. I turned, about to head toward the laundry room, but he stepped forward close behind me. So close I could feel his breath along the back of my neck. And then his hand touched my waist. Not rough, not hurried, just enough to make my entire body hum. I turned around. Our eyes met. I don't remember who leaned in first, me or him, but a second later, our lips met. That kiss. It wasn't like anything I'd felt in years. It was hungry, urgent, full of need, but also soft and reverent, like he was savoring something precious. His hand cradled my cheek. His lips searched mine like he'd been waiting a lifetime to find them. And I kissed him back like a woman who had been starving for this kind of closeness, this kind of fire. We kissed in the kitchen, pressed against the wall, on the sofa. My blouse fell to the floor. He moved with intention, unbuttoning each button like a man who wanted to memorize what was underneath. Every touch, every breath electric. His mouth moved down my neck. His fingers slid beneath the hem of my dress, gently exploring until they found how wet I was. I gasped, embarrassed by how much I wanted this, how much I wanted him. But Jake didn't flinch. He didn't laugh. He didn't judge. He just looked at me calm and intense and said, "You're beautiful, Linda." No one had called me beautiful in years. He picked me up, effortlessly like I weighed nothing, and carried me upstairs to the bedroom. The same bedroom that had felt cold and distant for so long suddenly felt like the center of something alive. He kissed me slowly, reverently. His mouth moved from my collarbone to my stomach down my thighs. He wasn't in a rush. He took his time, like I was something to be unwrapped, cherished. I didn't hide. I didn't shrink away. I opened myself to him, my body, my heart, everything. When he slid inside me, I wrapped my legs around him like I never wanted to let go. It wasn't just sex. It was rediscovery. I cried, not from pain, but because I felt alive again. Because I had forgotten what it meant to be touched like this. To be seen like this. To be wanted. Jake looked down at me, wiping a tear from the corner of my eye. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I whispered. We made love all night. More than once. In bed. On the floor. Sometimes wild and urgent, like we couldn't get enough. Sometimes slow and quiet, staring into each other's eyes, kissing like we'd never kissed anyone before. I wasn't Linda from down the street with Jake. I wasn't the polite wife who smiled at HOA meetings. I was a woman. fully, wildly, unapologetically a woman. And that night, I wanted everything he had to give. When morning came, we lay tangled together in bed. My body ached, but in the best way. I felt lighter than I had in years. Jake turned to me, kissed my forehead and whispered, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." I smiled. A real smile. Not forced. Not tired. A smile from someone who had been asleep for too long, and had finally woken up. But as the light poured through the blinds, reality returned with it. I had a husband, a life, responsibilities, and everything I'd done the night before was something I never thought I was capable of. Jake got dressed quietly. I walked him to the door. Neither of us said much. But before he left, he turned to me and looked straight into my eyes. "If you regret this," he said, "I'll never bring it up again." I swallowed hard. "I don't regret it, Jake. I just don't know where this goes." He nodded. "Then don't think about where. Just remember that last night was real." And with that he walked out. I stood there alone, still in my nightgown, still carrying his scent on my skin. And I knew I wasn't the same woman I was yesterday. I truly thought I wouldn't see Jake again. After that night, I promised myself it was over. Just one slip, one night of weakness, and then I'd return to my normal life. Back to cold dinners with my husband, to wordless hugs and lifeless glances from the man I'd spent nearly 30 years beside. But 3 days later, I saw Jake in his yard shirtless, fixing the fence. Sweat glistened across his back, his muscles rippling with every movement. He bent over, tightening a wire, his jeans low on his hips. And I, a woman who thought she had outgrown desire, felt my knees weaken just watching him. I walked out, holding a glass of lemonade. "Need a break?" I asked, my voice trembling. Jake looked up at me. His gaze was soft, the same as that first night. But this time, there was restraint, as if both of us were pretending to be polite, knowing full well that politeness had left the room days ago. "I won't come in unless you want me to," he said. I didn't answer. I opened the door, and he walked in, bringing the storm with him. The second time wasn't like the first. It was fiercer. I pushed him against the wall, unbuttoning his jeans with shaky hands. He said nothing, just grabbed me by the waist and lifted me like I weighed nothing. My legs wrapped around him, my mouth on his, and the moment our lips met, it was like we'd been starved. He laid me on the kitchen table, undressed me with one hand while kissing me deeply. My blouse fell open. My breasts, heavy and full, rose with each breath, aching for his touch. And when his mouth reached them, slow and reverent, I gasped so loud I nearly bit my lip. "Do you know what you do to me?" he whispered, lifting the hem of my dress. I couldn't speak. I just spread my legs, letting him see how ready I was. He dropped to his knees, his mouth moving between my thighs, tongue teasing and then relentless. My fingers gripped the edge of the table. My head fell back. I said his name like a prayer. The climax hit me hard, stronger than anything I'd felt in years, and I nearly collapsed from the intensity. But he didn't stop. Jake picked me up and carried me into the living room, then the hallway, laying me on the cool wooden floor. He entered me slowly, deliberately, filling me inch by inch. And I cried again, not out of shame, but because I felt truly alive. He didn't ask why I cried. He just held my face, kissed my tears, and made love to me with the kind of care that felt dangerous, because it felt real. We didn't stop for hours. We made love on the floor, the couch, under the dining table. Sometimes wild and rough, his hands gripping my thighs, my nails dragging down his back. Other times tender, me riding him slowly, our eyes locked, lips brushing like we were saying things we didn't dare speak aloud. I wasn't ashamed anymore. I wasn't trying to be quiet. I was moaning, begging, gasping. For him, for more, for the version of myself I thought I'd buried. Jake knew my body like it belonged to him. He found every spot, every rhythm that made me lose control. He touched me like I was 20 again, like I was irresistible. And for once I believed it. That night, after he left, I looked at myself in the mirror. My skin was flushed, my neck marked with soft bites. My hair was wild, lips swollen, chest still heaving. And in my eyes, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Someone vibrant, someone alive. I had cheated. I knew. I had betrayed my husband. I knew. But I also knew that if time rewound, I'd still open the door. I'd still let Jake press against me, kiss me, take me to places I thought were long forgotten. I would still let myself feel. Because every time Jake touched me, I remembered I was a woman. Not a mother. Not a wife. Not a neighbor in her 50s pretending she was content. But a woman, whole, burning, and unapologetic. And I will not apologize for that. If this story touched something inside you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Every week, I'll bring you new emotional and sometimes daring stories about love, loss, passion, and the secrets we often keep to ourselves. Stay with me, and let's keep sharing real stories together.